From the Southwest Network of Radio Nigeria, check the time from the studios, 2 o'clock.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the midweek edition of The World Today. It is a Southwest Network program of Radio Nigeria, Ibadan Zonal Station, comprising news and feature. In the lineup, IGP orders audit of ammunitions across state commands. Ekiti government disburses 29 million naira to student groups. Coming from the foreign scenes, United Nations call for release of activists in Israel. Judge found dead in South Korea. Heart of the matter is on protecting Nigerians from xenophobic attacks, while the feature is on Edom Stream. My name is Feyi Shara Owumoyela. Reading with me is
Dayo Adinuga, good afternoon. You can also listen to us on live stream via www.radionigeriaibadan.gov.ng. Watch us live on Facebook at Premier FM 935 Ibadan. Nigeria belongs to us all. Contribute your quota to make her great. And now to the first story. As part of efforts to strengthen accountability and prevent misuse of operational assets, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Tunji Disu, has ordered an immediate nationwide audit of arms and ammunition across all state commands. This is coming after a viral video showed officers shooting a restrained, handcuffed man at close range after a suspicious package was found. Following outcries as a result of the video, 4 police officers led by ASP Nuhu Usman were dismissed from service and their case filed transmitted to the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. Speaking during a meeting with senior officers in Abuja, Mr. Disu mandated police commissioners to conduct a comprehensive, transparent, and properly documented shoot-taking exercise with detailed report to be submitted to the force headquarters within a stipulated time frame. He directed all commissioners of police to immediately undertake a comprehensive audit of arms and ammunition within their respective commands. IGP said the exercise must be thorough, transparent, and properly documented, with detailed reports forwarded to the police headquarters within the stipulated time frame. The IGP explained that objective was to strengthen accountability, identify existing gaps, and provide an accurate assessment of our operational needs. Speaking on the extrajudicial killing, the IG described the incident as unlawful and a violation of professional standards.
one suspected bandit has been neutralized and 2 others arrested during a gun duel with operatives of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps NSCDC Agro Rangers in Ishenyi, Oyo State. The Command Public Relations Officer, Mr. Samuel Okwebiyi, in a statement made available to Radio Nigeria, said the personnel at the Ishenyi base had responded to a distress call from the sawmill area of the town reporting suspected kidnapping activities. The Agro Rangers, on getting to the scene, reportedly met firearmed suspects who opened fire at the officers, and the team returned fire that lasted several minutes. At the end of the encounter, 1 suspect was neutralized, while 2 were arrested, while 2 others escaped into the surrounding forest with suspected gunshot injuries, prompting an ongoing manhunt. Items recovered from the suspects include a cartridge gun with live and spent ammunition, 2 cutlasses, a metal rod, and assorted charms. The arrested suspects recovered exhibits have been handed over to the Nigerian Police Force Isheyin Divisional Headquarters for further investigation, while the corpse of the neutralized suspect has been deposited at the mortuary.
Nigerian Correctional Service NCOS has sanctioned 147 of its personnel of various acts of misconduct, including complicity in contraband trafficking. The Controller General of Corrections, Mr. Sylvester Onwakuche, made this known at a briefing in Abuja. Mr. Onwakuche said the NCOS authorities have also destroyed a total number of 1,167 mobile phones and other devices smuggled into correctional facilities across the country. The NCOS Controller General, who personally supervised the burning of the items, said the exercise was a clear statement that the service would decisively confront and eliminate all threats to the security, order, and integrity of the custodial centers. He added that the NCOS was not only serious but about the ongoing reforms in the service, but would ensure that infractions, acts of indiscipline, complicity, and sabotage would be met with appropriate sanctions against erring personnel.
Academic activities at the University of Ibadan was this morning disrupted following a protest staged by the students. Radio Nigeria's correspondent gathered that the protest was as a result of unavailability of water and electricity on campus. Some of the undergraduate students were seen carrying buckets and chanting solidarity songs as they moved around campus. They also stormed lecture halls, demanding a halt to academic activities until water and power supply were restored. Reacting, the public relations officer of the institution, Mrs. Adejoke Akinpelu, explained that the unavailability of water and power supply was as a result of the ongoing strike by the non-teaching staff who were responsible for the supplies.
The students are complaining that they don't have electricity and that they don't have water. So if the non-teaching staff that are in charge of these things are on strike, and then the VC is making efforts to even give them light, we have been in touch with IBDEC to bypass those things that the non-teaching staff are doing. Presently we have light, and arrangements have been made. They will be giving them light in the night.
Mrs. Akinpelu explained that the school authority had negotiated with the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company, IBEDC, while other measures had been put in place to ensure electricity and water are supplied for the students.
The Ekiti State Governor, Mr. Abiodun Oyebanji, has reaffirmed his administration's commitment to youth development through policies and programs aimed at empowering young people across the state. Mr. Oyebanji stated this in Ado-Ekiti while disbursing 29 million naira as subvention to student, youths, and community-based organizations operating in the state to support their activities. The governor, represented by the Commissioner for Youth Development, Mr. Gold Adeshola, said the intervention was part of efforts to promote youth engagement, leadership, and entrepreneurship. According to the governor, the disbursements covered all registered youths, students, and community-based organizations across the 16 local government areas of the state and was carried out through the Ministry of Youth Development. He said the gesture was to provide financial support and enabling a conducive environment for growth. The administration has continued to ensure that young people are meaningfully engaged and not left idle, thereby reducing vulnerabilities and unlocking their potentials. Mr. Oyebanji noted that the initiative would contribute to the socio-economic development of the state by encouraging civic participation, innovation, and productive engagement among the beneficiaries.
The federal government has unveiled a new national strategy to address Nigeria's estimated shortage of 30,000 midwives in a renewed push to curb the country's high maternal and infant mortality rates. According to a statement by the Assistant Director, Press at the Federal Ministry of Health, Mr. Ado Bako, the plan, titled Nigeria's Strategic Direction for Midwifery 2025 to 2030, was launched in Abuja as part of activities marking the 2026 International Day of the Midwife. Speaking at the event, the coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, said the government was implementing a deliberate and strategic initiatives to bridge the gap in shortage of midwives to strengthen the midwifery workforce and improve outcomes for mothers and newborns. Represented by the Director of Hospital Services, Dr. Bishola Adegoke, Professor Pate said the roadmap would expand training institutions, increase students' intake, and modernize midwifery education in line with global standards. He noted that strategy would create employment opportunities, remove recruitment bottlenecks, and ensure equitable deployment of midwives, particularly in rural and underserved communities where maternal deaths are most prevalent.
The Campaign for Democratic and Workers' Rights, CDWR, Oyo State Chapter, has condemned the arbitrary deductions of weigh-in and shift allowances from January 2026 salaries of workers of the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, FRCN, under the Integrated Personnel and Payroll Information System, IPPIS. In a statement signed by the state coordinator of the CDWR, Mr. Abiodun Bamigboye, the body described the deduction as unjust and inhumane. The CDWR stressed that the affected allowances are not privileges but integral component of the already meager earnings of workers, particularly those engaged in technical production and continuous broadcasting duties that keep FRCN stations running daily. It lamented that the deductions without notice, explanation, or cogent constitute a direct attack on workers' livelihood. The body noted that it was disheartening that despite assurances from management and IPPIS officials that refunds would be made promptly, the affected workers are yet to receive their money months after. The CDWR therefore demanded the immediate and unconditional refund of all deducted allowances of the affected workers.
The first batch of intending pilgrims from Osun State have been airlifted to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Speaking at the takeoff of the first batch in Lagos, the Executive Secretary, Osun State Muslim Pilgrims Welfare Board, Alhaji Muritala Fakule, urged the pilgrims to adhere strictly with instructions of authority of the kingdom to avoid deportation. Alhaji Fakule urged them to always listen to their leaders, as each batch had been allotted a leader that would give them a sense of direction. He said every step and action in Saudi Arabia is guided by rules and regulations, hence the need for the pilgrims to always ask questions before taking action. Over 343 pilgrims are part of the first batch airlifted to Saudi Arabia.
Oyo State government has flagged off the first phase of waste segregation across ministries, departments and agencies, MDAs, with the distribution of designated bins at the State Secretariat Ibadan. The initiative, led by the Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources, is part of broader efforts to promote proper waste management and environmental sustainability in the state. Speaking at the ceremony, the Commissioner for Environment and Natural Resources, Mr. Ademola Adefunto, said the bins are clearly labeled to support effective waste sorting, and according to him, each set has separate containers for plastics and bottles, paper materials, and biodegradable waste, a move designed to ease, recycle, and improve collection efficiency. Mr. Adefunto noted that the program represents a major step towards institutionalizing environmental best practices within government establishment, noting that MDAs must lead by example through strict adherence to proper waste disposal methods. He added that the ministry would strengthen monitoring and enforcement to ensure full compliance with the waste segregation policy. Reacting, Secretary to the State Government, Professor Musbau Babatunde, commended the initiative and urged sustained advocacy towards achieving a cleaner and healthier Oyo State. Also receiving the beans, the head of service, Mrs. Olubumi Oni, praised the ministry's effort and called for strict compliance with proper waste management practices across all MDAs. The government reaffirmed its commitment to policies and programs aimed at protecting the environment and improving residents' quality of life.
Non-academic staff in Nigeria's public universities have moved to suspend their ongoing nationwide strike, raising hopes for the resumption of full academic activities across campuses. The Joint Action Committee of the Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions and the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities directed its branches to commence processes for the suspension of the strike with effect from next week Monday. The decision followed a series of meetings between the unions and the federal government over unresolved demands, particularly the renegotiation of the 2009 agreement and welfare-related concerns. In a circular sent to branch chairpersons, which was obtained by Newsman, the union said they had secured a firm commitment from the federal government to conclude all outstanding renegotiations within 2 weeks of suspending the industrial action. The circular, jointly signed by NASU General Secretary Mr. Peters Adeyemi and SANU National President Mr. Muhammad Ibrahim, indicated that the breakthrough came after a crucial meeting with the federal government's expanded renegotiation committee led by former head of the civil service of the Federation, Mr. Yayali Ahmed. According to the unions, the government explained that any further review of its earlier offer would require the approval of President Bola Tinubu.
Agriculture remains the backbone of Nigeria's economic survival, serving as the primary source of food security, employment, and raw materials and industries across the country. Yet, as farmers prepare for the 2026 planting season, they are confronted with a convergence of challenges ranging from rising cost of input cost, and insecurity to climate uncertainties, raising concerns about the nation's ability to achieve sustainable food sufficiency. Against this backdrop, questions arise over the readiness of government interventions, the resilience of local farmers, and the strategic direction required to reposition the sector for improved productivity and long-term national stability. As our correspondent Rotimi Famaki examines this special report.
Before the discovery of crude oil, agriculture formed the mainstay of Nigeria's economy and served as a major driver of national revenue. The critical sector of food production, industrial raw materials, and agriculture has continued to attract government interventions while also stimulating policy debate among stakeholders. Nigeria's current economic realities have been largely attributed to the neglect of the agricultural sector, worsened by over-reliance on oil, which has negatively impacted productivity. Low utilization of agricultural inputs is linked to high transportation costs, inefficient distribution system, limited private sector participation, import risk, and inconsistent government policies. Limited access to farm inputs and environmental degradation, alongside inadequate investments in agricultural research, have further constrained the sector's development and contributed to declining employment opportunities. Speaking with Radio Nigeria on behalf of farmers in Oyo State and the Southwest region, the chairman of the All Farmers Association of Nigeria, AFAN, Mr. Abbas Adewumi, identified the activities of herdsmen and bandits as a major threat to farming and appeal to government to sustain support through the provision of more security in remote areas as well as subsidized farm inputs.
Those of herdsmen that they used to bring their cows to farmers' farm when the farmers are not there before we come back in the morning. And this is affecting the farmer because most of the farmers are borrowing money to finance their farm.
Representing the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kyari, during the distribution of agricultural inputs, the Director of Extension in the ministry, Mr. Olawumi Ayodele, stated that the President Bola Tinubu's led administration has prioritized food productivity and sufficiency under the Renew Hope agenda. Senator Kyari reaffirmed the President's commitment to supporting farmers and strengthening the agricultural sector.
We all understand the fact that the economic reform of the President Ahmed Tinubu administration has caused the prices of food to come down.
An agricultural communication professor at the University of Ibadan, Professor Kuta Yahaya, observed that both the crop and livestock sector have suffered setback due to over-reliance on crude oil, dependence on food imports, inadequate funding, poor infrastructure, the influence of multinational corporations, and climate change. Professor Yahaya recommended the adoption of technological innovation as well as empowerment of women and youth in both subsistence and mechanized farming.
Promote accountability and political will, revitalize agricultural infrastructure, address conflict and displacement, enhance social protection programs, promote diversification in the food systems, invest in urgent infrastructure rehabilitation.
Professor Yahaya further emphasized the need to promote livestock development, improve infrastructure, reform land tenure system, invest in transportation and storage facilities, and also implement coherent agricultural policies while encouraging community participation in smart agricultural practices. In Ibadan, Rotimi Famakin, Radio Nigeria.
This is the world today. The stories that made the headlines so far. IGP is ordered audit of ammunitions across state commands. Ekiti government has disbursed 29 million naira to students groups. Still to come, United Nations call for release of activists in Israel. Judge found dead in South Korea.
Glad to know you're still there. Continue now with foreign-related stories. The United Nations has called on Israel to immediately release 2 activists taken from a Gaza-bound flotilla and demanded an investigation into the disturbing account that they had been severely mistreated. United Nations Rights Office spokesman Mr. Thamin Akiman made this known in a statement released today. He said Israel must immediately and unconditionally release Global Summit Flotilla members Saif Ablishek and Thiago de Avila, who were detained in international waters and brought to Israel, where they continue to be held without charge.
A South Korean judge who more than doubled the former First Lady's prison sentence last month was found dead early today. An investigator at Seocho District Police Station said Shin Jun-oh was found unconscious around 1 a.m. at the Seoul High Court building. He said Shin was taken to the hospital and pronounced dead, adding that there is no sign of foul play in the deaths.
The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, Parliament has ordered an investigation into the escalating terror attacks across the sub-region as well as the current name of xenophobic violence against African migrants in South Africa. The regional parliamentarians took the decision during the plenary at the first 2026 ECOWAS Parliament Ordinary Session in Abuja, after the Ghanaian lawmaker and third deputy speaker, Mr. Alexander Afenyo-Markin, moved a motion. The parliament subsequently ordered its committee on political affairs to investigate recent terror attack incidents across the sub-region, especially in Mali and Burkina Faso, and xenophobic attacks in South Africa targeting ECOWAS citizens.
In today's Heart of the Matter, Funmilola Obagbayegun of our Current Affairs Unit writes on protecting Nigerians from xenophobic attacks.
In recent years, the troubling rise of xenophobic violence against Nigerians living abroad has become a recurring and deeply concerning issue. From targeted attacks on businesses to physical assaults and even loss of lives, these incidents highlight a failure of both host nations and the international community to uphold the fundamental rights and dignity of all people, regardless of nationality. Nigerians, known for their entrepreneurial spirit and strong presence in various sectors such as trade, education, and technology, have not been left out in the attack. This not only endangers lives but also undermines regional cooperation and economic integration, especially within Africa. Protecting Nigerians from such attacks requires a multi-layered approach. The Nigerian government must take a more proactive stance in defending its citizens abroad. Diplomatic engagement should go beyond formal condemnations to include sustained pressure on host governments to investigate incidents thoroughly, prosecute offenders, and implement preventive measures. Embassies and consulates should also be more responsive, offering support systems such as emergency hotlines, legal assistance, and evacuation plans where necessary. Also, host countries must accept full responsibility for the safety of all residents within their borders. Governments should strengthen law enforcement responses, promote community policing, and invest in public awareness that counters xenophobic narratives. Education systems and media outlets also have a role to play in fostering tolerance and highlighting the positive contributions of immigrants. Regional bodies like the African Union (AU) and Economic Community of West African States (ECOWAS) must step in more decisively. These organizations were founded on principles of unity, free movement, and shared prosperity. Allowing xenophobia to persist unchecked erodes these deals. Coordinated policies, sanctions against non-compliant states, and conflict resolution mechanisms should be activated to address recurring tensions. Equally important is the role of Nigerians in the diaspora. While no one deserves to be a victim of violence, individuals and communities must strive to respect local laws, build positive relationships, and avoid actions that may inadvertently fuel tensions. Community leadership and self-regulation can go a long way in improving perceptions and fostering coexistence. Technology and social media platforms must be used and monitored responsibly. False narratives and inflammatory content often spread quickly online, escalating tensions in real time. Governments and civil society should collaborate with tech companies to curb hate speech while preserving freedom of expression. The protection of Nigerians abroad is a responsibility that must be taken seriously by all stakeholders. Silence and inaction only embolden perpetrators. What is needed now is firm commitment, coordinated action, and a shared understanding that every life, regardless of origin, holds equal value.
That script on protecting Nigerians from xenophobic attacks was written by Fumilola Obagbayegun of our Current Affairs Unit and delivered by Stephen Agbaje.
And to end the news on the world today from the stable of Radio Nigeria, here again are the day's top stories. As part of efforts to strengthen accountability and prevent misuse of operational assets, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Tunji Disu, has ordered an immediate nationwide audit of arms and ammunition across all state commands. The Ekiti State Governor, Mr. Biodun Oyebanji, has reaffirmed his administration's commitment to youth development through policies and programs aimed at empowering young people across the state. The United Nations has called on Israel to immediately release 2 activists taken from a Gaza-bound flotilla and demanded an investigation into the disturbing account that they had been severely maltreated. A South Korean judge, who more than doubled the former First Lady's prison sentence last month, was found dead early this morning.
And that's it on the news on the world today. To join us tomorrow for a fresh edition of the program, Rashida Makinde edited I am Feyi Shara Owomoyela. Thank you for joining us from my colleague
Dayo Adenuga. Enjoy the rest of the day.